This question is a modeling problem where we have a word problem. And so that means that there's some context. So anytime you have a word problem like this and you're given a formula, here we've got t is equal to 1.4d plus 25, you want to make sure that you understand what the variables stand for. So our output variable t here represents the number of patients diagnosed with the flu. So you can think of that as your y value, the output value. And then d is the number of days. So you can think of that as the input value x. So hopefully you could see here that this function that represents the number of patients diagnosed with the flu, it's linear. So it kind of looks like the form y is equal to mx plus b, where you can see that m is 1.4 and b is 25. So let's talk about what those two numbers mean. In question A, we want to identify the slope. So we can see from the equation that the slope is 1.4, but let's talk about its meaning. So if you want to interpret the slope, the easiest way to talk about the slope is to think of the slope as a fraction. So you can put any number as a fraction by putting it over 1 and then writing down the units. So the numerator of the slope is always the output value, which is the number of patients. So this is 1.4 patients with flu, all right? And the denominator represents the number of days. So this would be 1.4 patients per day. So the meaning of the slope is this. It means the number of patients, and let me spell patients correctly, diagnosed with the flu increases, and the reason why I'm saying increases is because the slope is positive, by 1.4 patients. You can say each day, or you can use the word per day, okay? But the slope is a rate, so we're always using some unit per some other unit. So here the units are patients per day. Now let's talk about the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 25. And what the y-intercept tells us is the y-intercept, I'm going to write this as x comma y, is the y value when the x value is 0. So don't forget that x really represents the number of days and y represents the number of patients diagnosed with the flu. So the meaning of the y-intercept in this situation is it means there were 25 patients diagnosed with the flu initially. I don't know why I keep spelling flu with an E. Right, or however you want to word it. You don't have to word it exactly like this. We can say initially there were 25 patients diagnosed with the flu. You can write it that way as well. And then question C wants us to calculate T of 15. So this is just the notation which says, right, when D is 15, solve for T. That's what that T of 15 means. So to calculate T of 15, we're just going to substitute into the equation. Wherever we see D, we're going to put in 15, and then figure out what T of 15 is, which is the number of patients diagnosed after 15 days. So if you do the math here, if we do it correctly, that's 21 plus 25. So that tells us that 46 people, 46 patients diagnosed with flu after 15 days.